Hey, so here we are now working in AutoCAD. The first thing we're really going to do in this setup is to work to make a template that in AutoCAD that whenever we open up a new project, it'll automatically open this template that'll have our standard unit set, as well as our dimensions and text sizes, just so that we don't have to keep changing it, and it sets kind of a standard that we'll always go to. But so when you open AutoCAD, you should be presented with this looking page to it. We want to go ahead and start a drawing, and it should open up to what should look similar to this. The first thing we want to do is we want to type in units, and then we want to hit enter, and we should open up to a menu that looks like this. We want to go to type and hit drop down, and you want to choose architectural. The next thing we want to do is go to precision, and we want to go to about 8 inches. And then we'll click OK. And that's all we have to do with that menu. The next menu we want to go to is we want to type in DIMSTY, and then we'll hit enter, and it should open up the Dimension Style Manager. In this, we then want to go over to modify, and we want to click on it, and it should open up a new menu. The first thing we're going to go to is we're going to go to primary units, and we're going to click down on the unit format. We're going to drop it down, and we want to make sure that's architectural, as well as we want to change the precision here to 1/8 of an inch. Next thing we want to go to is text. We want to change our text height to about 3 inches. Then we'll go over to symbols and arrows, and we want to change our arrow size, and I like to set that at about 2 inches as well. Then we want to go to lines, and we want to extend our beyond dim lines to about 2 inches. And then we'll click OK. Then we'll click close again. And now we should have set up all that we need to it. So if I'm going to type in line, and I'm going to draw a line really quick just to make sure I've done it correctly. I want to have this snapped on so I can draw a straight line, and I'm going to just draw it at about 20 feet, and then type enter. I want to hit escape out of that. I'm just going to zoom in on it. Then I'm going to go up here so that I can see what my dimension is of it. Click at the ends, and I can see it's at 20 feet. I like the arrow sizes, it's done to it, everything looks correct to it. So I'm just going to select all of it and delete it out so it's clear. Now I want to save this. So I'm going to go up to the AutoCAD symbol, I'm going to click on it. I want to go down to save as, and I want to click the arrow over so that I can see that I want to save it as a drawing template. So I'm going to click on that. Now I want to name this what I want to it. So I'm going to label it correct units, and you'll notice here I have one that's already that, so I'm just clicking on it to save it to it. And then I want to hit save, and I want to replace mine. It'll open up this template options. All you need to do is hit OK, and you've done it. The next thing that we want to do with this is we want to tell AutoCAD that every time we open up a drawing in this, we want to automatically just have it open this template and not any of the others. So we want to go back up to this AutoCAD symbol at the top corner, click on it, go down to options. We want to be in the files tab. Then we want to go down and look through this options. We want to find the template settings. We want to double click on it, and then we'll have these 4 other options to it. We want to click on the default template file name for QNew, and then we want to hit this over arrow. We want to double click on it, and it will open up those same template options. And then we just want to select the correct units, the one that we just saved, and we want to open that into it. And we should see that it's now following to this, and we hit OK. And so we have finished that, and now every time that you open AutoCAD, it should automatically do this, and you'll never have to do those steps again. With that done, because we have saved this file under a template, I like to just go ahead and open a new document or a new drawing and close out of that one, just so that I don't accidentally save over top of that template anymore. you'll notice that up here at the labeling of it, it just tells me that drawing number 4. That means that that template has gone away, I won't affect it, and I'm now drawing into that. Hey, so before you're getting into the actual part of this video of me going through all of it, I've interjected this at the end because I went through the entire thing and forgot to really hammer this home. Hopefully I'll do better in class now that I've made this mistake doing the video. Make sure you save this file for the love of God. After you have made the template and you have started to work, please save your file. You want to go up to the AutoCAD symbol and save it. And save it whatever cute little name you have for it, black box or whatever. Every about 10 minutes, you should hit Control Save on your computer. But please, I want to interject this into my video that you need to make sure you are saving constantly. AutoCAD does have a backup feature and a recovery. You cannot rely on this, and you want to make sure you get it in your body that about every 10 minutes you want to hit Control Save. But here's a little sneak peek of what the end product of your stuff is going to look like. Enjoy! Now that we've finished and have the templates already set up for us, we can begin drawing our black box. Like I said in class, same thing with SketchUp, AutoCAD, you can do this a million different ways, so I'm just going to step you through the easiest way that I can think of that we would want to draw our black box with just lines. And we're going to focus on drawing the first floor ground plan and the second floor that will have a copy of the grid over top of that second floor so we can commonly see where those large holes are at the top of it. So our first step is we want to use the line tool. All of these tools we can usually find up top, like I kind of showed through class where we can find them. I think you should get it in your body to type it in faster, that you will be able to find it easier. So any of these tools that are up here and our command bar at the bottom, I will type it in and you can find that. And that's where, again, the hotkeys will get you moving quicker too, that if you can figure out the hotkey command for using your line tool, the move tool, and things like that, you'll move very quick. But for the most part, I will be typing in every single one of these commands rather than finding them up top unless I have to. So the first step to this is I'm going to just hit escape a bunch of times to make sure I've cleared out my command bar. But the first thing I want to do is I want to type line. I'm just going to pick any point in this drawing to start drawing at it. I don't care where it is on this grid portion of it, drawing anywhere is great. So my first thing is I'm just going to click here to start my drawing of it. I have my cursor restrict, or making sure that I'm going to draw a straight line across. And then I want to type in 62 feet, and then I'm going to hit enter. And I want to, because I still have that line drawing, I then want to draw straight up, and I'm going to type in 62 feet again, and then hit enter. And same thing, I want to draw back across 62 feet, enter. And then instead of having to drop down, because I have my snaps on over here where I have my snapping onto it, I can snap down and it'll click onto that endpoint and will automatically draw it. Once I have clicked that and I'm done using that line tool, I can hit escape. And now I have the outer perimeter of that black box. What I want to do now is I want to draw inwards so that I have my exterior walls. So instead of having to draw a box and kind of place it in there, I'm going to use my offset tool. So I'm going to type in offset, and I'm going to hit enter. The first thing it wants to know is the distance of how inwardly do I want this. So for our exterior walls, we're going to give them 1 foot of thickness to it. So I'm going to type 1 foot, and I'm going to hit enter. Next, I can click on all the lines to draw them inwards. So I'm going to click this line, and it should draw it inwards. I can click it, and I want to make sure again that I'm drawing towards where I want that wall to go it, because you can see if I have it on this direction, it'll offset it to the outside. I want them all on the inside, so I'm going to click that direction, this direction, and this direction, and I now have a thickness to all of them. So I'm going to hit escape to make sure again I'm out of that, and I notoriously again will hit escape a bunch of times, like it's just to clear out that command bar so I make sure I'm completely out of it. The next step is I have these kind of extra lines in here. I want to erase those out. In order to do that really simply, we can use the trim tool. So I'm going to type trim, and I'm going to hit enter. If we go around and automatically do it, AutoCAD will kind of be intelligent enough for us to figure out where we're wanting to clip to. So without hitting enter or giving it any of its edges or anything like that, I can just click and I can draw upwards, and it will kind of automatically guess out the lines I'm wanting to erase. So I wanted to erase those 2 lines out. You can also go over top of it and just click, and it should automatically show you which line it's wanting to erase to it. Either one of these options work really great with this tool. Great, so now we have, and I'm hitting escape to get out of that, now we have the exterior portion walls of the black box. The next things that we want are the calipers. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to offset these lines and type that in there, and I've hit enter. I'm going to offset these lines in 8 feet because I know my light locks are 8 feet inwards. So just taking 8 feet in, 8 feet in, and I'm hitting escape to get out of that. And now we have the light locks kind of dropped in here already. I'm going to type in trim again, and I want to trim out these extra pieces. We'll get to those later. But now we have all 4 of our light locks. Next thing we want to do, like we did with the exterior walls, is we want to offset all these walls so that we can have a thickness to it. So I'm going to type in offset, hit enter, wants to know the distance that it is, so 1 foot, and then enter again. And I want to offset all of these walls inward. Great, so I've hit escape and I have all my walls there, so we're going to go around again and trim out these corner pieces of these 2 in here because I don't need them. So trim, enter, and drag across all of these just to get them all out. Great, hitting escape. So now I have all the light locks with some thickness to it. Now I want to go ahead and draw the doors in. So I'm just going to this bottom corner to choose just this first lock to kind of follow through with it. I'm going to choose the line tool. So I'm typing it in, line, and then hitting enter. And then I'm selecting this bottom corner, and I want to make sure I'm drawing to the left of that. I want to draw over 6 inches. So I'm going to type 6 and then use inches and hit enter. And then I want to draw upwards to get that line across. And then I'm hitting escape. Now I know I have this distance in the middle here that the door width is 3 feet, so you can either draw a line from this point and draw it over 3 feet and then draw up, or I'm going to just go ahead and use the offset tool again. So I'm typing in offset, enter, and then 3 feet so that it knows it has its distance, enter again, and then I'm going to choose this line and I'm going to draw it over so that I have this offset at 3 feet and I have my opening. Now I want to hit escape out of that. It's hard to notice here, but we have that drawn line at 6 inches still here, so I want to try and keep my drawing as clean as I can just so I don't have these problems. So I'm going to go ahead and select it. So I'm clicking and holding, and then I'm just going to select out of it and select it. You'll notice because I had the green one that I have selected too many things, so I'm just going to go ahead and deselect out of that, and I want to try to get the blue selection tool. So now that I have it, I'm selecting over it, and I have just that 6-inch line drawn there, and I'm going to hit delete to delete it out of there. That's just to try and make sure we don't have extra lines and things into it that kind of can get selected onto and keeping our drawing as clean as we can. The doorway that's on the other side of this is parallel to all of these lines, so I'm just going to draw a line straight down from this. So I'm just going to select this line, and I'm going to use the stretching of it at the bottom to pull it all the way down and across so that I can use these as guidelines for my trim tool. So dragging both these lines straight down and then hitting escape out of it. And now I have the 2 doorways that are here, and I want to clean this all out using my trim tool. So I'm going to type trim, enter, and then I'm just going to drag my lines across to clear all of this out to get all of my lines out of here. And now I have the 2 doorways that work for our black box. So I'm just hitting escape to get it out of there. Now I want to do that same exact thing across here, but I already have this one drawn. So for this case, I'm just going to use my line tool again. So line, enter, to draw these lines all the way across so that I can use these as guidelines to trim out these 2 doorways. So now that I have them drawn, I'm just hitting escape to get all the commands out. And I want to use that trim tool one more time. So trim those out, trim, 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 trim. And now I have that light lock drawn the same way. Now I want to do this third one. So we'll just kind of rinse and repeat that same process of typing in line. I'm going to choose this corner piece, draw over 6 inches, draw upwards to get the 1, and then this time I'm just going to draw straight down because I know that's where that first one is. And then I'm going to type in offset, enter. I already have it offset at 3 feet because that's what it was, so I don't have to retype that back in this time. So if you're repeating, if you're using the offset tool at different times to do the same amount of offsetting, we don't have to retype it back in. So all I have to do at this point is just hit enter, and I can select the line that I want to offset at 3 feet. So I've got the longest line selected. I'm going to click it and click again to make sure it accepts, and I have that line drawn. Now it's just typing in the trim tool and deleting out all the extra stuff I don't need. So delete, delete. And then I have that little 6-inch line there again, so I want to go ahead and select all of that and delete it out. And then, oh, I went a little too quick and I need to delete that portion out. So trim and trim those portions. You'll notice here I have 2 double lines, and that's what I was questioning. So I've clicked on it and it wants to know, and I can tell that because when I click on it, it can tell me I have 2 lines overlaid. I'm going to select one of them just by clicking on it, and then I want to hit delete just to get that out of there. Great, so now we just need to kind of do the exact same process of finishing this last light lock, except with bigger doors. So I'm going to type in line, I'm going to choose this corner, and then I'm going to draw upwards by 6 inches. And then I want to draw one direction, and I'm going to click, and then I'm going to draw across the other direction because there are 2 doors of the same width at this point. And then hitting escape to get out of that. I'm going to type in offset, and then I want to type in 6 feet, enter, click on this line and draw upwards, and now type in trim tool, trim, enter, and trim all of this out. Trim, trim, trim. And then now I just want to delete any of the extra lines I have on here. So I've clicked on it, and I'm just going to select it, delete, click on it, select it, delete. Great. Now I have all the kind of pieces dropped in here for this first floor. I'm going to go ahead and trim out these portions for my hatching to be a little bit easier in here. So I'm going to type trim, and I want to delete this out. I want to delete this portion out. I want to delete that out, here, 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 and here. That'll just make it easier for when we apply the hatching into it for it to fill into it a lot quicker. The next step that I think we need to do is we need to start adding in our dashed lines to show the doorways as well as our overhang, our walkways of the second floor that would be over top of this. So we want to type in line, enter, and we want to click at these points. So because my snapping again, I should get a green here, and I want to click here. Then I want to hit escape, and you can hit spacebar now because it will choose when you hit spacebar. If your command is cleared, it will select the last tool. So that's how we can kind of move quicker using the spacebar. So now that I've hit spacebar, I'm just going to hit click here where it snaps, here again. And I'm going to hit escape, and I'm going to hit spacebar. And I'm going to repeat this process for all of them. So escape, spacebar, click, escape, spacebar, click, click. If this isn't working for you or it's not having into it, go ahead and type in line for each of these and you can click it, and making sure you're just escaping out of these and can go around, but this is a quick process for you to follow to it. Going around to all of these and clicking on them. And I'm just drawing all of these lines in to fill them in to select here very shortly. Great. The next lines I want to draw in is I want to connect these corner points to one another, because that's where our walkway is. So I'm clicking here to here, on this corner, and this corner, and now I can hit escape. Now I have all the lines drawn. Now I want to change their line type so they can be the dashed lines to show that these are one, doorways, but also the overhang of the second floor. So I'm just going to use my selection tool, and I want to select all of those lines I just drew. So those four, I want to select all the doorways, great. Now that I have all of these selected, I want to change their line types by going over to here where the properties is, and I want to hit this down arrow. And then I will need to click other. The next thing you'll need to, because we haven't been using this line type in this file yet, we'll need to load it in there. And we'll click load, and AutoCAD has a bunch of selections for us to use of line types already made that we can repeat into it. So I'm going to choose the dash, and then I'm going to hit OK. I want to select over top of it again, and then I want to hit OK. So it deselected all of my lines and didn't apply it onto it, you can see here. So we'll just have to repeat that again. So I'm just selecting all those lines, going around really quickly and just trying to click on all of them so that I can change all their line types together. Great. Now when we hit this drop down, you should notice that dash line is there. If we click on it, now all those lines have those dashes to it. The dashing is a little bit too common for me. Like, I want to give their spacing a little bit more. How we can do that is when you click this drop down, if it doesn't already if you don't already have it on your screen, this opens the property manager on this side. So if we click it once, if that's how we've accidentally closed it and you see my screen is gone, if we click it now, it appears on here, and this is where we can change a lot of the properties of these lines like individually. So if you'll notice over here, this should be the line type size or scale. I want to change that scale to, like, let's try 2 and see if that is a little bit better. I want to get it maybe a little bit more. We'll try 5. That worked really good for like these overhangs, but now the doorways don't have it. So I'm just going to go ahead and select all the doorways, and I'm going to make their scale a little bit smaller so that they can be seen to it. So it looks like I like the 2 on them. Now if I hit escape and clear that out, yeah, I like the 2 on those a lot better. That it gives me the dashed and I can see where those are, and now I have those. Now I have indicated that these are archways. And that these portions have an overhang above them so that we can kind of know on that what it is. The next step that we need to do is we need to make sure that we've indicated correctly that these are doorways, because right now with just the dashes, we're telling that it's arches, and this is all based off of the US ITT drafting standards. So to show that these are a doorway and what direction it is, we need to first add a line. So I'm choosing my line tool, hitting enter, and we want to draw a line in the middle of that thick doorway there. So I'm going to choose here. I have on my snaps, it has the snapping to that triangle. So if you don't have that triangle appearing, you need to go to this snap tool, hit the drop down arrow, and you'll need to have midpoints turned on. And that's where any of these, again, these are just the ones I currently have turned on, and I will turn them on and off interchangeably. But you'll want to make sure that, yes, the midpoints is turned on for this. So once it's done, I hit the drop down arrow. But so I want to click this midpoint, and then I'm going to just have it snap to that midpoint, and I'm going to hit escape. We now need to draw this so that it is going the direction that the door swings. So I'm going to select this line, and then I'm going to type in rotate, click on it. The first thing it wants to know is what's the base point at which this thing is going to kind of pivot on. So I'm going to select here where that corner is, and you'll notice right now that when I move it, because it's now rotating, it's only snapping at these larger portions. This is where I need to turn this orthogonal drawing tool off. So I've clicked here, and now it's kind of free rotating. I want to get this so it's snapped at kind of a good angle, not just kind of willy-nilly. So that's where right next to it, I'll have it restrict to angles so I can see these on. If we hit this drop down arrow, you can see I have turned on the 45, 90, 135, and 180 for the full different it is. This is again just a snap of those different angles, and that's what I want it for. So I'm just hitting escape to get out of that. Oops, I hit escape too much to get to clear it out. So I'm just going to select my line again, rotate, enter, clicking this point here, and then I just want it to snap to the 45. Maybe I'll have it go to the 60 just because I like how much more this angle is. So now I have the door drawn on here. I need to draw this curved portion to tell it that the door is swinging this direction. So I'm going to choose my arc tool, arc, and hit enter. It wants to know the start of the arc, so I'm going to click here. The next thing is it wants to know the center of it, or it wants to know kind of where that center portion is. And I'm just going to kind of roughly get in here this nice kind of curved arc to it. And I like how that looks. I have some excess here, so I'm going to type in trim, enter, enter, and clear that out so that I can get my arc here. If you don't type in arc, or if you're getting a different arc tool to it, we can go up here to the tool set and we can click drop down, and you can select a different way of drawing it. It automatically should choose the 3-point arc tool for you like I did for it, and that's how you can draw it. But there are other versions of this arc way that you can draw in here. The next thing we need to do is tell us that it's a dashed line. So I'm going to select it, I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to tell it that it's dashed. The last thing we need to do to this is we need to add an arrow. AutoCAD does not have an arrow insert end of line, so we have to just go ahead and draw our own. So we're going to use a line tool, so typing in line. I want to specify to start at this point. And I'm just going to use my orthogonal to kind of draw in roughly an arrow. So I'm going at about 90 to this. I've hit escape, and I'm going to use the mirror tool to try and get this to give us a good angle onto that to look like a triangle. So I'm selecting this, and then I'm going to type in mirror and hit enter. First thing it wants to know is the mirror point, so where it kind of wants to reflect from. So I'm choosing this endpoint, and then because I don't have an orthogonal on, it wants another point, and I'm going to use that midpoint as a good reflection to it. So I'm going to click there, and the last thing with the mirror tool it wants to know is, do you want to erase the source object? So no, I like my source object. Now I just need to choose a line to connect those 2 points. So line, and then I'm going to select here, and I'm going to select there. And now I've given it a direction to it. Last thing is I have the arc going through this. I want to trim it out, so trim, and I've deleted it. I'm going to go ahead and give this a little bit more dashing. So I'm going to select that line, and I'm going to change the line type to about line type scale to 0.5, just to give it a little bit more dashes, just so I can kind of clearly see that. And that should tell us this is a doorway, and it swings outwards this direction. We will give this a fill, but we'll fill this later when we go around through the rest of the building. But so we need to repeat this door for all of these doorways. So we're just going to copy and paste it. So I'm going to select all of this. I'm going to copy, enter. It wants to know the base point at which I'm copying, so like where I want to click and drop it next. So I'm going to choose here. And now I can just choose the midpoints of all of these of where they drop. They all follow the same kind of pattern of they open inwards and drop onto it. So clicking here, and clicking here. These doors work differently, so that they, again, don't have that, they want to repeat this opening towards the outside of it, not the inward. So I'm going to make a copy and just drop it on the outside of it, and I'm going to hit escape. And I'm going to mirror it. So I'm going to select all of it, I'm going to type mirror, enter. It wants to know what point to mirror it, so here. I want to make sure that I'm mirroring this perfectly, so I want to go ahead and just turn on the orthographical so I can make sure I'm mirroring it how I'd like. So there, now I know it's going good. I want to click. This time it wants to know, do I want to erase the source object? So yes, I don't want that, so I'm going to hit enter. I've typed in yes and hit enter, so now I want to select it, and I'm going to move this. So I've typed in move and wants to know at what point, so I want to select that corner piece, or right there, and then I want to drop that at the midpoint again. So I've now got this here. So I want to repeat that same thing and copy it to this point too. So select all of it, copy, at what point, here, and clicked. Great, now I've indicated where all of these doors, at what direction they open to. Last ones are these doors, and they all open towards the back, and these are double doors. So they follow the same 3-foot width, and they want to have that same portions to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and drop a copy of that same door to the side here and hit escape. I'm going to select it, and I'm going to rotate it. So I'm just going to go ahead and go up and find the rotate tool up here. So click a base point, and because I have the this tool set turned on, I can rotate it. So I want to go ahead and rotate it and make sure that it's going perpendicular with against this midpoint here. So there, and clicked, and I've dropped it. Now I want to move it. So select everything, type move, enter, click at what point, and click it to that point. And now it shows that it's opening for this way. I have to mirror the same thing to go here too, so I'm going to select it all, type mirror, enter, at what point, here, click it down, do I want to erase it, no, enter, and now I have the first set of doors, and I just had to repeat that same thing. So I'm just going to copy all of it, select all of it, copy, enter, at what point, so this point, and drop it here, and now I can hit escape, and now I've dropped in all of the doorways to the building. The last step for this floor plan or ground plan that we want to follow through is we want to go ahead and give all the hatching to this space. So I'm going to go up here to where this hatch tool is, up here, and click on it, and it should open up to this menu. The first thing we're going to hatch is the theater architecture itself. I like to use the concrete texture for this just because it's specific to this, and it's what I commonly always use to indicate that these are the exterior theater walls, and that's all they are. So I found it, and I'm going to click on it, and now I'm going to drop it on here once. And you can see I've got that texture dropped here. It repeats a little bit too much at first, so I'm going to go up here and I want to change the scale of it. So I'm going to go ahead and increase it, and you should notice that texture is changing with it as well. I'm just going to go mine to 2.5. You can choose yours to whatever you'd like. I'm not very specific on that, but just so that you can kind of tell what it is. Now that I've changed it to this 2.5 and I have this to what I like, I'm going to go ahead and go around to all of these interiors and click to what it is. You can see before you click onto it that it'll kind of automatically show you where it fills into it, and click. Sometimes if you're zoomed in too much and it can't see the outside of it, it may not work. That AutoCAD's just being dumb. So you can see here a closed boundary can't be determined. I'm just going to close. All you may need to do is zoom out a little bit and then click, and it should work. So same thing, filling that in, this in, and that should be all the exterior portions to that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit escape. And now that hatching has gone to all those portions to indicate that. Last thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and show these arrows. Oh, we're going to have a problem with all of them. That I've dropped them on and I didn't connect it. So you'll see I have to go around now and fix that problem. That I accidentally clicked too much. I have to make sure these are all closed boundaries or they won't repeat into it or finish it. So I'm going to quickly move and just get these all closed off better. These are some of the things you'll notice as you move in your projects that you may have missed something like this. All you have to kind of do again is click onto it. I'm clicking the stretch tool, little box to stretch it where I want to close off this box. And because my snapping's on, that's what it's automatically snapping for me to close these things. Hopefully you don't have to follow the same step, but if you do, you can see me that it's happening through. That I'm just going around and filling these all in. If you had done this correctly, you shouldn't have to do this step. If you didn't and you're following me exactly what I do, you'll have the same problem that I do, and you just have to kind of go in and correct all these shapes. Great, it looks like I've done that. I'm going to hit escape so I deselect all of those. Now to do what I was intending to, that I want to go ahead and add a little hatching into all of these triangles, just aesthetically for that. So I'm going to choose this hatch tool again, and I'm going to just choose solid, and I'm going to put a solid fill to all of these triangles, just to indicate that's what I want them for. This aesthetically tells me that these are for dimensioning purposes, that these tell me that that's all they're for, that they're not like a piece to it that's meant to be a triangle. Great, I'm hitting escape to get out of that. This now is the second floor, or the first floor of the black box, and gives us enough that we could start to draw on this and use it. This can be copied and pasted for all of it. I now want to go ahead and start to actually draw the second floor as well, because I want to have that in my drawings on the second floor of the ground plan so that it can show this as well as the grid compared to it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy all this. So select all of it, copy, enter. I'm just selecting a point and I'm dragging it across to make an exact copy of it, and I'm hitting escape to get out of it, so that I can draw all of this information into the next one. So what I'm going to end up having to do is take all of those triangles and doorways that I've drawn into it and delete them out. Because I don't need that information kind of holding up on the second floor, because we already have it on the first. Deleting all of that, selecting and deleting. Same thing with the door archways. I don't need that information for this one either, so I'm just selecting all of it and deleting it. Same thing here and here. I will have to choose the hatching, so when we click on one of it, it'll choose all what we hatch for that one portion, and I'm going to go ahead and delete that out because we'll reapply that. Oh, missed some of these, so I'm deleting it. I'm going to go ahead and delete the light locks as well, so that that information isn't needed. So I'm just selecting all of it, delete, 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 delete. Oops, selected too much. Select, delete, delete. So with the exterior portions, you'll note that I have these kind of drawn in the dashes. I want to try and get all of these to be just one set of lines without having too many overlaying, just again to keep this drawing as clean as I can. So I'm going to go ahead and just start choosing and clearing it out for what lines. So all of these can kind of go away for now. This can go away. I'm going to select this line and I'm going to drag it up and just continue it. Same thing with this line, just so I can have one continuous. I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to select all of this stuff and delete it out, and I'm going to choose this line to stretch it out. This is just kind of my choosing of what lines I want to delete out and keep, but I just want to try to make it so that this is only one piece rather than a bunch of mini pieces to connect all of this, just so that my drawing isn't like when I try to snap things or do things, I have a cleaner object to all of it. But you want to go to all of these corners and just try to clean it up as best as you can for this. Your technical director will appreciate this much, as well as this is just good common practice for you, so I will be going through your drawings to make sure you cleaned it out as best you can. But so yeah, going through all of these, and just kind of a little tedious project to kind of using commands and clicking out of it, selecting the lines, deleting them, and going to the next one. and going to those corners and stretching, making sure you have your snaps on really good, just so that it's easier to kind of drag and drop these pieces to what you need. Drag here, drag there, delete. So hopefully now I should have completed that. Great. Now we need to go ahead and change these lines. Now that we are on the second floor, I want to indicate that these are solidly there, that these aren't overhanging anymore, that this floor is on that level. So I want to change these from being dashed lines to being solid. So I'm going to go ahead and just select all of them. I'm going to go back up to line type, and I'm going to change it by layer, because my by layer isn't changing anything. It's just a solid line. But so that's what it's gone ahead and done, is given me all the solid line here. The next thing I'm going to do is I want to go ahead and just indicate that the railing is there. I'm not going to be super specific of going ahead and showing each individual pillar that runs across this. I'm just going to draw lines on the exterior of this to show this is where the railing would be compared to this floor. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to type in offset, enter. I want to give it a distance of 4 inches, enter. And I want to go to all of these lines, and I want to draw them 4 inches outwards so that the railing has indicated it's on this piece here. Great. The next thing I want to do is, you'll notice here, I need to kind of fill in these gaps that are missing here. The first step I'm going to kind of do is I'm just going to stretch these out. You can see you can grab it and just stretch it along as long as you have, again, that orthological view, drawing, so it's drawing just, again, up and down, left and right, like it's locked to those positions. You can kind of just draw it up and through. And then you can trim these pieces out really easily. Or you can draw these across, and you can use the extend tool. So I'm going to just type in extend and hit enter. And now that I have that drawn, it'll automatically clip up to that, and I have it there, and I can just trim that portion off. So escape, and I want to do the same thing down here. This case, I just find personally, I can just stretch these pieces a lot faster and move around into it. So draw it across, drawn across. And now I just need to type in trim, enter, and I just need to clear out those extra pieces there to show those are gone. And clean those out. If you're going to draw and in your design you want to make sure that you have someone, if they're able to like go from the first floor to the second floor, like you have a ladder here that goes across, or that the actors want to like have platforming that transfers across here, you will need to go through and with the SketchUp model and other things indicate where the railing pieces are, so that you can show very intelligently that right here this railing may be broken and we'll have something else here to kind of connect it through. In this case, I'm not requiring for this assignment. If in your adaptation project you would like to show that, I would like you to go through and we can kind of discuss in class more drawing in the squares of where the railing posts would be, so that we can clearly indicate on this ground plan you'll have breaks and what the railing are. But for this will work just fine. The next thing you want to do with this is, with our second floor of the black box, is you want to add the grid to this so that we can have an indication of it being above this space as well. I won't include it on the first one just because I don't want that much information on there, but I will on the second floor of it, just because, again, that's really good things to include to help us kind of see. I have provided a drawing of it because it is not nice to draw, same thing like I told you in SketchUp, but so what you'll need to do is you'll need to go find that file that I've provided for you in Canvas. You'll need to download it and have it saved somewhere that you can open it. You'll then need to open it, and it should open in AutoCAD and look very similar to this drawing. You'll notice it should have all the dashing to it, and it should look real great for it. If it does not have the same kind of hidden look to it, you'll need to make that its own line types by, again, selecting all of it, going into line type, changing it, and changing its line type scale as well to get it something close. It doesn't need to be perfect to this, but you'll want it to indicate that it's above all of it. But so, select it, and we want to type copy, enter, and wants to know what point. So this is for, at this point, if we want to copy and paste it and do another, and the same thing. Well, we want to move this from drawing to drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and hit escape, And then I'm going to go back to our original drawing, what we've been drawing our black box in. And I want to type paste. Enter. And now I can drop it in and click and drop that into space. The next thing I want to do is, just for ease, because I want to move it, I'm going to go ahead and select all this, and I'm going to make it a group. So I'm going to type group, and I'm just going to hit enter. This is just so that I can move this thing as one solid thing, and I don't worry that like maybe I missed a couple lines when I'm selecting or whatnot. I now want to place this in the center of this drawing. So I'm going to find center by typing line, and I'm going to just draw lines across from here. And same thing, I want to take a line from the top and draw it down. I can do this because I have drawn these long lines and have cleaned out all the little ones and made sure of this. You can draw lines from this point to this point. We just want to make sure we find the center of this square, and we want to take the center of this thing. So I want to do that same thing for this square. Should be able to find center here and draw across to here, and same thing from this point to this point, and this should be the center of this. And now I'm just going to select all of it, and I'm going to type move, enter, my move point, so I'm going to move at the center of here, and I'm going to drop it on the center of that. I missed, so I'm going to hit Control Z and do that again. It happened. So move, enter, select my center, and select here to make sure I've dropped it at that center portion of it. And now I can take those extra lines and I'm going to delete them out. And now I've placed my grid at the center of this space. Last thing I want to do is I want to add hatching to this to fill it all in. So I'm going to go to the hatch. And because the hatching, the last thing I did was the solids, if I go over here, it's not going to fill in the hatching like I'd like to it. I want it to be the same hatching as here. So I want to match its properties. So in this hatch menu, I want to go over here to match properties, and I want to click the top portion. And you'll notice now I have like the paintbrush. I want to go over top of that hatching of the concrete, and I want to click on it. And now it should copy it. And now I should be able, if I zoom out and go over top of it, it should fill into that same exact properties. And I missed. Oh no, that's why you're noticing the blue, it's filling it in. Oh, maybe I didn't. Oh, it worked. Okay, good. Now you've noticed the yes, all of that exterior is filled into it. And I'm just going to hit escape to get out of that hatching. And I'm going to go ahead and hatch this railing as well, just because I want it to be the same. I wanted to let it know that there is railing here. So I'm going to go to hatch, and I'm going to make a different type of railing for it. And I'm going to choose the cross, just because I don't use that very often. But so I'm going to go in, and then I want to do that same thing of I wanted to make sure I can see all of it. So it's going to go in there. And I want to click in there, and it should hopefully drop. It's just taking a little bit of time to be intelligent and go through the thing, so give it a minute to let itself fill in. And so we should now be able to see that it's filled in way too much. Let's change that scale so it's a little bit bigger, just so it's not repeating so much and it can actually kind of be seen and be a little bit useful. But I think, yeah, right there tells us enough information. And then I'm going to hit escape and get out of all that. Great. Now I have the first floor of it and the second floor drawn here of the black box. This is all you need to do for part 1 of this assignment. Part 2 we'll go through and we'll start adding in a title block that you can repeat to it, but this gives you now drawings that we can kind of work off of and begin to do within it. As I said at the beginning of this, and I will repeat many, many times, there are a million ways to do this. There's probably a way better way to do it than what I've just showed you, and someone else can instruct you through better ways, but this is the way that I'm teaching you to go through it and can kind of easily through it. Please reach out to me if you have questions with any problems or anything that I could elaborate on better for you guys. Also, don't be afraid to Google your questions or go to YouTube. There's not a specific YouTuber I go to for AutoCAD, but they do have a lot of answers out there to kind of specify different ways or different tools that you may be hitting to, or kind of just questions you may have of better ways to kind of move into it that you may find. But please have this done. Please work on this until Wednesday, so that if you have any questions, as well as reaching out to me. Make sure you feel very confident with your drawings of this, because you will be using these for the adaptation project, so you want to make sure you feel good about these. But great, I hope this was a good instructional way for me to show you how to go through this project. I look forward to seeing them.